Swift.
India versus New Zealand in an ICC event, or as an Indian fan would say, the game that shouldn't happen. Yeah, at least what your recent history has told you. But it's a big one because you've got two teams here undefeated in the tournament so far, two teams on 8 points, and two teams who are meeting at a venue where the bowlers will be coming into the equation. Thank you so much for joining us on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Match Days. We're building up to that big one. I'm joined the company of Shane Bond, Cheteshwar, Pujara. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, Shane. I'm getting straight to it. No Hardik Pandya. Yeah. What are the changes you suppose are coming in? Is there a one player going out for the other, or you think there are two players that are going to be making way for someone
Well,
else?
if I was to select, I'd probably make two changes in the Indian side. I'd bring Surya Kumar Yadav in. I'd go with the 6 genuine batsmen.
Yeah.
I'd go with Jadoo as the all-rounder, and I'd bring Mohammad Shami in for Shardul Thakur. So it's going to leave your batting a little bit lighter, but you've got 5 genuine bowlers, I think all would finish their 10-over quota, and you've still got that depth in batting with Jadoo at 7 and Sky, who I just think's awesome player.
Is that the same way you're going as well?
I would completely agree. I don't think they should be thinking about anything else. There is a possibility that Ashwin might play instead of Shardul. We have been reading about it, but we never know. But I agree with Bondi. I think the better choice will be Shami coming in for Shardul, and then Surya Kumar Yadav in for Hardik Pandya.
Because the other way of looking at it is that you've got this thought that you want a batsman you want a bowler who can bat. So if not Shardul, you have Ashwin. Why abandon that thought when you're playing possibly your toughest game of the tournament?
I think I look at it in a way that if Hardik's out for an extended period of time, I just think you need the genuinely good 6 batsmen. It's been a high-scoring World Cup. It's likely to be. I think India's 5 bowlers in that case are really good, and Virat might be able to bowl a couple of overs in between, and Rohit's been bowling the arm over. But I think New Zealand wouldn't want to face Surya Kumar Yadav. I think he's that sort of player who opposition fear. So yeah, I just think if you've got, I know Jadoo's a good batsman, but he hasn't been in form lately. With him at 6 and then a bowling all-rounder at 7, it's a little bit light for me.
Also, given India's struggles versus New Zealand, especially up top, you want there to be some guys who can really do some hammering if that top order doesn't work.
Yeah, and I feel that Jadeja, there is no offense to his batting, but he can't be number 6 in the one-day format. He's a very good all-rounder. He can bat at number 7, but I don't think he can bat at number 6 because there's a lot of pressure on him. If we lose 3 or 4 early wickets, then if he's coming in within first 20 overs, there's a lot of pressure on him, and then you have Shardul or Ashwin at 7 and 8. That leaves a long tail for us, I think.
Is there still a question mark on Surya Kumar Yadav ODI cricket in your mind, or is that last series versus Australia sort of subsided it a little bit?
I think it did, but I still feel he needs to learn a bit more because when there is a bit more time, that's when he starts thinking a bit more. I think what suits him is if he has to bat in last 15-20 overs, it's a lot easier for him. He has a bit more clarity of playing his shots, playing his game. But when he walks into bat, when there are 25-30 overs left, and that's when I think he needs to give himself a bit more time, because he feels that he just needs to bat the way he bats. He needs to play aggressively. Yeah. But in one-day cricket, you have a lot more time, and you need to allow yourself to play first 15-20 balls and then start playing your shots.
No thinking of Kishan whatsoever? The guy who's already played the World Cup, so he's sort of played the situation, the occasion already?
I think it's like a like for like in terms of Hardik's a finisher for India, and that's what Surya Kumar, I think he's got more capability than Ishan is doing that, and I think because he accesses 360 degrees, he's a nightmare for bowlers. So Ishan's a top order player, and I think that's where you play him if you have an injury there, but I think at that 6 role, Surya is the perfect fill-in.
One of those key battles, of course, will be India's top 3 versus New Zealand's new ball bowlers. Trent Bolt on the one side, you have Matt Henry on the other side. If you take a look at a few numbers, especially those left-handed bowlers, someone like a Trent Bolt, they've troubled India's top order, especially Rohit Sharma. But this Rohit Sharma is very different, Shane, from the Rohit Sharma that's got that record versus the left-arm bowler, swings it in a little bit.
Yeah, look, I think Trent and Rohit have been teammates, so batted a lot against each other. If you play someone enough, and Rohit's played Trent in a lot of cricket, he's going to get him out. So there's going to be some success there, but likewise Rohit scored a lot of runs as well. So there's going to be some friendly banter in that competition, and that's the key for the game, I think, for New Zealand. Henry and Bolt versus Shubman Gill and Rohit and maybe Virat. If we saw in the last semi-final World Cup when New Zealand took care of the top 3, it was the difference in the game. and I think it's a key factor here too.
I feel like seamers are in play, and especially New Zealand seamers, they always like to attack the stumps with the new ball. They get a little bit of swing early on. So it'll be interesting to see how Rohit and Shubman start their innings, because do they want to continue that aggressive approach?
Yeah.
Do they want to, try and take them on?
Shane, a bit about Matt Henry, because when you're paired up with Trent Bolt, a majority of the times people are going to be talking about Trent Bolt. Yep. But how good is this guy at the other end?
Yeah, he's been one of the leading wicket takers in the power play in world cricket for a number of years now, and he sort of, because Bolt's so good, Henry sort of sits underneath and isn't really talked about, but I picked him to be the leading wicket taker in the tournament because I didn't think he was going to swing as much here, but he has an ability to seam the ball and get movement off the pitch. He's done that through this tournament, and his ball that nips back into both Rowett and Gill is going to be crucial in this match.
I think, does he use the wobble seam as well? Because
he's not a swinger. The seam always wobbles, and the thing about him is he has this ability to just hit the top of the stumps. That's his natural length, and because it sort of nips either way, that's why he's a real handful. And his economy rate's low in this tournament. He's taken wickets in the power play, which is sort of what he normally does, and I always feel like he's in the game, particularly when there's something in the wicket.
As a batsman, when you have a bowler like that, and many bowlers do nip it away like that, but the consistency with which he does that and keeps on coming at you with that length, then what are you really looking at? What are the things you're looking at?
I think you have to use your crease well as a batter. Either you have to stand outside the crease. Someone like Shubman, he likes walking towards the bowler. That could be a good technique. But I think you always watch out for the ball coming in rather than worrying about the ball which nips away from the right-hander, because he wants to bowl in the stumps. He has a good length, so if you can tackle the ball which nips back in, then as a batsman you are still safe.
Kuldeep Yadav, Santner, whoever has a better day, sort of.
I think Kuldeep has slight advantage being a wrist spinner, whereas Dharamsala, the ball normally skids on, where Santner will have to play the holding role, and some of the Indian batters are really good against spin, whereas some of their batters haven't faced Kuldeep a lot, and some of his wrong ones could be really dangerous at Dharamsala.
And that could be the one that could really flip the game for you, the fact that the Kiwi batsman versus Kuldeep and those 10 overs.
I think so, because on that pitch, if there is not much assistance for the spinner, Kuldeep will come into play because he's a wrist spinner. So I think he doesn't rely a lot on the pitch, even if it's a nice batting pitch. Even if the ball is skidding on, because of his ability, I think he could be quite effective.
Finally, also, when you're talking about New Zealand, we've spoken about India's batting firepower. At the other end, you've got Rachin Ravindran, of course, who's announced himself at the world stage. But the main man of that lineup, and no Kane Williamson, so the main man of that lineup has to be Devon Conway. And he's been so good, Shane, especially in India, versus spin. Then you add that he's even better. But we had to find something of what doesn't work against him. We found something.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to found something.
No,
There's not too many areas of weakness.
There is. The Indian has found it. We found something. If you look at it, Devon Conway versus pace in ODIs, over the wicket, he's just going at the way he's been going. You've hardly got him out. Around the wicket, and suddenly the dismissals come in, and the mode of making the runs, and those runs really just drop down a lot.
Yep, that was a plan for us in the IPL to attack him that way, and that's what I'm really interested to see tomorrow. If Bumrah, I think, will go around the wicket. Siraj, I'm not quite sure. He likes the over the wicket angle, but key man, because as I said, if he gets outside the power play, he's the perfect man to negate the spin bowling threat for India, because he's a very good player of spin. So, yeah, they're the little jewels and the subtleties of where teams look to attack players that I really love watching.
But why do you suppose so? Is it just because of the angle is a little different, and so it's a little difficult for you to set up and take shot or something?
I think if you look at Conway, the way he's set up, he doesn't really have a big stride forward. He plays from the crease. So what it means is if you bowl Fuller in towards the stumps and it does anything, because he doesn't take a big stride, it can expose the inside edge and go through the gate. And it's been a mode of dismissal, getting bowled through the gate with foolish balls from around the wicket.
And I think it'll be interesting to see if Shami is playing, whether will he be bowling with the new ball. I would recommend, I mean, in my experience, Shami should be opening the bowling with Bumrah, because he can come around the stumps and exploit Conway's
That would be the
weakness.
perfect combo, is probably those two bowling around the wicket.
They're calling it the final before the final of this World Cup. Where do you think this game is going, Shane?
Well, I don't know if it's a final before the final, but I think it could be a potential semi-final. We could see, we could play each other again. I think both these teams will make it.
Cheteshwar?
I think it's a big game for both the countries, but just from the Indian team's perspective, I think this is the right time where whatever experiment, or if Hardik is not likely to be fit for next 2 or 3 games, you just need to make sure that we get the right combination going forward, because you don't want to make too many changes in next 2 or 3 games. So whatever combination the management wants to set, they should do it right in this game.
Because that's been an issue in previous World Cups. You don't want to fall back into that. And how it's hampered you in these ICC events. Shane, Cheteshwar, thank you so much for joining us. You were watching Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPNcricinfo Match Day.
Stunning looks, then swift,